But today I want to take you through the process of making a short video. I've got to put brake fluid in a van, so this is not a particularly interesting or pertinent video. It's just going to get brake fluid and putting it in the van. But it covers the basics of how to make a short video. So I will be using my phone. I have a DJI Mic 2, a travel tripod, and a few other odds and ends that might come into play, like right now the FX30, which is what I'm filming here. This is going to be mostly the behind the scenes because I want to show you how to make a video with the phone. You could just as easily be making the video with the FX30, which is a considerably better camera, but you might not have one, so phone it is. Let's get to it. So here's the old beast right here. I had thought about starting the actual video that we're editing with a quick tour of the van, but I realized while thinking about it that I want to get into it pretty quickly and maybe introduce a little lightness, if not humor. So instead I'm going to set up a shot of popping the hood from the inside, hopefully being able to get a shot of the hood popping open from the outside, which is going to be kind of fun because there's only me and I can't be the camera person focusing on the hood and the person pulling the pulling the strings, so to speak. So what I might do is put the camera on this tripod that the FX30 is on, or try to use this little multi-clamp with the, there's a little phone holder that comes with this, what is it, Photo Pro tripod? Yeah, Photo Pro tripod. It's hidden in the center column. It's really cool. And I might clamp that to a box or something nearby so that I can get the hood opening. Getting the shot of popping the hood is going to be easy enough. I'm using the back camera on the phone versus the front camera because the back camera is much better. I'm going to have to use the front camera to film myself more than I'd like, so I'm just using the back camera at every opportunity. So here we go. I think I'm going to hold it with my left hand and reach in with my right. That wasn't framed as well as I'd like, so I'm going to aim it down. Good enough. And I hit it a little harder and let it go a little harder to get the sound of it. That'll come into play later. I found a chair and I can put my little clamp on it here and get my phone set up. And now this multi-clamp kind of, you can, what they call a magic arm. You can kind of set it right where you want. So I'm going to point it where I want it to be focused. And that's right here on the emblem of the car. So when the hood pops up, you're going to see the most change. And I'm going to tap on the screen so that I'm sure it's focused right where I want it to. I'm going to hit record and then go pop the hood. Wasn't that dramatic? I don't want to take this too far, but I also had the thought that if there's room to put the phone inside the engine compartment and have it pointed out, then I can get the hood coming up and the light coming in from the inside. I've done it with action cameras before, but not with my phone. Well, let's have a look and see if there's room for that in here. Now, there's plenty of room. All right, we'll give it a try. So I've switched around to the front-facing phone so I can see the framing as I'm setting this up. And I think I can just lean it in here somewhere. Famous last words, huh? If I can get the framing that I want. So that's pointed out here. That's good enough. It won't be exactly the same angle, but we can do it and see how it works. So we'll go ahead and hit record, close the hood, and then go pop it again and see what that looks like. Now obviously I have no way of telling what that looks like until I get it to the computer to edit, but I'm just giving myself raw materials for the edit later. I have an idea of how this is going to turn out, but some of these shots might work, some of them might not. So the next thing I was thinking of doing is dropping my tools down because, you know, tools are important. And then we're going to have a look at the cap for the brake fluid. because I need to know what kind of brake fluid to put in this. So I'm going to set up that shot. And then come in with the, I don't want to have the shadow there waiting, so in, and then shadow out. That was probably better. We'll go ahead and keep that. Maybe it'll work. Now we have to set up the talking part. So I'm going to look at the brake fluid container, or the master cylinder reservoir there, and talk about the brakes and the need to determine what kind of brake fluid it is. I like where the camera is connected to the frame of the car at the moment, but it's a little bit low. For talking shots, you want to have it at least nose level, a little higher and aiming down if you can. So I'm going to see if I can set that up. And the first thing I'm going to try is putting that same magic clamp up here. I think that'll work without doing any damage to the hood of the car. Fortunately, these have rubber parts in the grip so that it's pretty gentle. Alright, so this is not as wide as I'd like, so I'm going to put it on the widest camera I have. And maybe, no, I can't back it up. So let's see here. I can tell that I am going to have to be under the hood of the car and kind of leaning forward. It's also not straight, so I need to adjust that now. There we go. There's also some stuff in the background that I'd rather not have be there, so I'm going to take care of that first. So now we hit record and go. We have one technical issue here that is kind of unique to how I have this set up, and that is that this microphone is recording to the behind the scenes camera rather than to the camera that's actually going to be doing the video. So I'm going to have to sync this audio up later. Normally you would have this connected to the phone, and I'll show you how to do that when I'm back in the studio. So I'm going to hit record, go get in position. I am not a mechanic, nor do I play one on TV except for today. And what I have to do, because I'm the one available, even if I'm not the best one to do it, is double check the brakes on this car and refill the brake fluid. Now, I've already looked in here and I can tell the brake fluid is low, but I need to make sure I get exactly the right brake fluid. But I need to be sure I get exactly the right brake fluid. How do we find out? And now it's getting a little windy, so I'm going to cut that there. And I think I'm going to move this mic under my shirt. That's not my favorite thing to do, but I don't have the windbreak that comes with these things, so you do the best you can. I decided to put it in my pocket. Probably doesn't sound quite as good, but at least there's a little bit of a windbreak. Now, I was just talking about the cap, so now I need a little B-roll of that cap. So we'll go ahead and use the phone to do that. And since I was around about here, we'll use my point of view, the same angle that I would be looking at it, to bring the viewer into the experience. I'll move the phone a little carefully. Now I'm going to do something else, and that is I'm going to explain what I'm talking about while looking at the thing I'm talking about. Again, I'm using the back camera, even though I'm talking to it, so you don't need to see me for this part. And I can just barely see right there that it says DOT3, Department of Transportation 3.3. That's the kind of brake fluid I need. Now I'm going to zoom in a bit to get that real close with my finger so I can pretend that I am doing it all at the same time. So the next thing is to go to the parts store and buy some DOT3 brake fluid. So I need to do a little wrap up here before we go. I could have done it earlier because thinking about it now, I kind of want the camera in the same place. So I'm going to put it back on the hood up here in about the same place. It'll be close enough, and shoot that little wrap up. Ready to go. But again, it's pretty windy. So I'm going to give it a moment for that to settle. Or, hold up. Yeah, it's funneling the wind right through the engine compartment, so I'm going to have to wait a moment for that to die down. Alright, let's give it a try. Hit record. I'm also going to cover where the mic is with my arm. Hopefully it doesn't look too unnatural. Nope, there the wind's gone, so I don't need to do that. Well, I happen to know that dot 3 isn't what they have at the gas station. They've got dot 5 there, so I've got to go to the auto parts store. That means a little bit more driving, but not too much. So, off we go. Now, that's it for that, so we'll go ahead and shut that off. Since I started with opening the hood, I could end with closing the hood. But I don't think that's really necessary. So I'm just going to wrap this up and we'll get to the next scene. So that was a scene, by the way. We just shot the scene of setting the scene, so to speak, for the video. Going to drive to the store, get the dot 3, come back, and then probably use a similar set of angles to film the final part of it. Then we'll edit it. Now, cars are interesting because they vibrate a lot. And what I've done is taken that little magic arm and hung it from the rear view mirror, which, I mean, even when you're driving, you can see the rear view mirror vibrating with the car. So there is stabilization in the phone, but it's not fantastic. In fact, we're not even level here, so let's fix that. A little bit better, doesn't matter that much. So I'm going to do the narration part of this in the car while I'm not moving very fast. Then once I get out onto the street, I am going to turn the phone so I can look out the front view and record a little bit more. But what I'm not going to do is record a whole bunch of stuff and fiddle with the camera while I'm driving. So let's get started. It occurs to me that I kind of want the key turning, but I'm going to get that later. Just keeping that in my head here, so off we go. Alright, I've turned the camera around and now we can go forward for a bit. Again, it's bumpy, but when we're going slower, there's less vibration. I'm also recording the audio for this just through the phone. I've found that being inside the vehicle, it usually sounds pretty good because the vehicle is fairly noise isolated. But at the same time, it doesn't sound the same as the wireless mic. Alright, that should be enough for this. I'll turn it on later to get another shot of when we're going faster on the highway. So I just turned it on there because of the big truck and a little bit of visual interest as I was turning. And I think I'll shut it off again and grab a little bit more later. No need to grab this all. How about some twisty turnies? I might use it, I might not. Passing through historic Makalau town. Again, I have a little something silly to say about this intersection, so we'll turn the video on again. The famous Olinda Road, Baldwin Avenue intersection. Really rich people turn up, wannabe rich people turn down. It's not exactly true, but hey, it's close enough to the truth to be funny if you know Maui. I just realized I've made a significant tactical error, and that is that I drove off without my coffee. Alright, one last bit of road here through Makawao, and then I think I'll save one more shot for the faster road on the way to the auto parts store, and then capture turning into the auto parts store. That's actually kind of a nice view, so I'll turn it on for that. Kind of iconic upcountry Maui here. Coming up to an intersection, might be a little bit interesting to use, so I'll just go ahead and grab that. Now you may have noticed that I said earlier, oh, this is the last shot before this or that, but I keep getting more shots. I'm just giving myself more options in the edit, but I'm not making any of these shots all that long. Now the turn. It is Haleakala, volcano here. We are approaching the shopping center, so I'm just going to let it roll from here. I'm not sure which parts I'm going to use, so I'm going to give myself as many options as I can get later. And tucked away back here, we have Napa Auto Parts. So I'm going to do something here, right? I'm going to pull in so that you can see the sign, but there isn't any place I want to park over here, so I'm going to, so you can see the sign, and I'm actually going to go park where I'm going to park. And here we are. Let's go shopping. So while I'm here and while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to go ahead and get the shot of turning the key. I'm just going to turn the camera around here and focus on that for a sec. So it's just a matter of finding a good angle, and then that's all we need. We'll go ahead and cut that in later. Just got to remember that it's there in the midst of all the road and whatnot. Now, before going in, we should talk about some areas of sensitivity. This is a small store, and I don't want to make anybody who works there or who is shopping there uncomfortable. So I am going to keep my shot small and leave it at that. .34, .34, .3, and a big one. I think I'll get the big one. Wait. Alright, now that I'm out of this door, I can do some shots. But what's going to end up happening is the light's going to become a problem if I go this way. But I think I can hold it down low enough, so got it. Got the brake fluid. Hopefully, that'll be enough to fix it. I am a little worried that there are leaks, and that's a little bit beyond my pay grade at the moment, but we'll do what we can. So the tricky part when doing shots like this is to remember to look at the camera and not at yourself. Lots of things to remember when you're doing these videos. I just realized I'm almost missing an opportunity to film inside the car getting in. So I'm going to set this up and then make believe that I'm just getting in the car for the first time. All right, mission accomplished. You know what I'm most excited about? Getting back to my coffee. And again, the car starting up. I think I'll let it run just to catch the sound. Good enough. I'll turn this around to face the road and get a few more road shots coming back, but I don't think I need too much of that. I might not even use any of it. Turn the fan down so you might be able to hear this a little bit better. So I've been stopping and starting the video recording of the road. We don't need very much of it, but I was looking for pieces that were a little bit interesting or had some sort of something going on, like a nice view or something other than just, driving. And instead of just leaving the camera rolling the whole time, which would certainly give me all the shots I want. It would also fill up the phone very quickly and give me a lot more to look through. It's kind of a paradox, right? We want to get as much good B-roll as we can, to have as many options as we can for the edit. But we don't also want to make a whole lot of work. So over time, as you're doing this kind of video production, you start to get a sense of what's going to work and what's not. And you get a lot more of what does work and a lot less of what doesn't. But it does take time to figure that out. So I would always default to shooting more and having those options rather than shooting less and not having those options. Over time, you'll get better at it. It's a little safe for me to talk to the camera when we're on these small little roads. So I've set it up to do the last little bit of returning home. And here we are. We have returned home from our epic quest to get the correct brake fluid for the van. And of course it is raining heavily here, more heavily at any rate than it was on the drive. I'm going to pull up under the driveway here as much as I can so I can stay dry while I'm putting the brake fluid in the car. Also, I don't want to get any water in the brake fluid. Unlikely, but possible, so let's remove that possibility. And that's good enough. Let's get this done. We're getting to the last scene here. Okay. Well, we made it back with the brake fluid, but there is an even more important fluid here that I'm grateful to be reunited with: the coffee. One moment. Oh. So I'm going to move the camera to actually get a close-up of this in order to do the actual putting the brake fluid in. But I also want this angle to wrap up this scene. So I'm going to pretend like I finished. And that's that. Hopefully that'll keep the van stopping when it needs to stop and everybody safe. Thanks for coming along. Movie magic right there. So the way this works, there's a ball joint here, kind of a massive lockable joint here, and another ball joint there. And this one screw, thumb, whatever it's called, this thing, loosens or tightens the whole thing. So I'm going to take the phone off of it while I get it in position, because I don't want it to suddenly get floppy and fall over and the screen crack. It's going to have to be a little bit of a, kind of have to guess where to put it. And that'll probably be close enough. Now this is plastic, so it's not that robust. I don't want to damage anything, so I'm being kind of careful. That will probably be about right. A little wobbly, so we'll have to be kind of aware of that. Camera's on that side. Then we loosen and aim it where we want it to go. And I think we'll zoom in 3. So we've got a good frame close up on the cap. Double check here first if we have to take the, and we do. I don't care about filming this for the demo, but I do want to make sure that it's out of the way for this shot right here. So now I'm looking in here and I can see that I can just barely see over the edge of the engine compartment. So I'm going to try and get taking the cap off in that shot. So we'll get it running. Carefully does it. And now we carefully pour it in. There's a fill line there. It looks like we're good. And there we cut to the wrap up that I shot earlier. All right, I think we're done. So that's a fair amount of effort that goes into shooting something that you're doing. You kind of have to think about what you're doing and think about how to shoot little bits of it that will be interesting for your viewer. But you don't have to shoot everything. And the more surgical you get about what you're shooting, the easier the edit will be. So we've wrapped up what we call production, and now let's head to post-production.